John Reid covers the Pelicans. He has since 2002. They were the Hornets then. They're the Pelicans now. NOLA.com. They don't have the Times-Picayune anymore, I don't think. That was like my favorite newspaper.
Well, it'll always be in our hearts.
He joins us now with a look at why this deal might make sense for New Orleans. John, welcome aboard. How are you, pal?
Hey, I'm doing good, guys. You guys pretty good, man. It's still the Times-Picayune, though.
Is it still publication?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Somebody, that was you, Pete, who said it was no longer around.
The genie box gave you misinformation, John. Never believe what you read on the web, right?
Yeah, you're right about that.
Well, John, last night, this starts running rampant that New Orleans and Philadelphia in talks. It seems like the Sixers have been talking to anybody who will listen to them, but it sounds like the Pelicans are actually interested in Okafor. Do you feel that is accurate, that the Pelicans would have interest in Jahlil Okafor?
Oh, I definitely feel that's accurate. I feel that they Dale Demps is a general manager who wants a center to go paired up with Anthony Davis, and the two that he has on his roster right now just hadn't been a good fit with the system. And they need another scoring punch. And you look at a young kid like a Jahlil Okafor who can, you look at what he can do as far as scoring in the low block. And this team really, they got to be honest with themselves, and I think they are. But I think you got to get to a point where this franchise realize that, things have not worked. They're 20-32, and some experimentations hadn't really panned out on some guys. They spent some money this past summer, and Solomon Hill really hadn't been that type of two-way player at small forward. So, they got a lot of money on the bench that's at the center spot, and they want to bring in a young talent to go alongside Anthony Davis, and I don't think that's the only conversation that Dale Demps is having right now. I wouldn't be shocked if that move goes out. I don't know, even with those conversations, though, that they can get a deal done. Maybe Philly want a Jrue Holiday, and I don't think the Pelicans are willing at this point to put him on the table.
Yeah, that name's been floated around. Of course, Jrue was here, and it's not that, believe us, it's not that we don't think Okafor can play. It's just that he's kind of square peg, round hole here. Obviously, in New Orleans might be a better situation with Anthony Davis out there, but are the Pelicans comfortable giving up a first-round pick either this year? It seems that they're going to fight to make it next year's, when the draft is not supposed to be as good as this 2017 class.
I think that's where the sticking point at is in these negotiations right now. I don't think it's going to be the 217 pick. I believe it'd be 218, and I think that it will have like a protection on it. Maybe not lottery, protected through the lottery. And I think that's the conversation that's going on right now between those two franchises. But, Dale Demps has been criticized here in New Orleans for, he's been here 6 years, but he's been definitely criticized for giving up a lot of the draft picks, particularly in that Jrue Holiday deal in 2013. And, I think that's a concern, but as you just said, the draft is not as deep, or not projected to be as deep in 2018 as it is this upcoming season. So, I think that fan consensus just feel that they need to get more younger talent that can produce. They don't have enough scoring in that roster. They don't have enough pieces to do the things that Alvin Gentry wants to do as far as, they go small ball, but they're one of the worst rebounding teams in the league. So when they try something, there's something on the other end that doesn't work. So the pieces is not there to fit. The pieces are not in place. And when you compare, say, a Okafor to an Omer Sheik in New Orleans, that's almost like a steal because he hadn't done anything, and he's in the contract. He's got $48 million left on the contract. You bring in a young talent. I think that if they could do some things and not to have, the NBA right now not playing this system where he is a kid that plays with back to the basket, probably more effective that way. And there are some concerns that he could clog up the lane for someone like Anthony Davis. But just the potential, when you look at his stats, I mean, he's been a double-figure scorer since he's been in the league a season ago. I mean, he seems consistent as far as getting, scoring in the low post. So that's the thing that I feel that Dale Demps and them considering that they can get more production. And there's another thing, guys, that Anthony Davis is not sort of made a issue of it, but he has said publicly that he don't want to have a future playing at center. so they're going to run a lot of things through him on this trade talk going into February 23rd. So that might have something to do with it also. But as far as down here in New Orleans, I mean, it would be a real significant upgrade if they can get a kid like Okafor and not have to rely on what they've had at that position. And Alexis Ajinça is someone who's kind of disgruntled. He feels he should play more. He hadn't played a lot. And he does have some scoring potential, but I think that at this point, I mean, he was spoke to after the game last night. And he basically, in his words, say, hey, if they can get the deal done and send me to Philly, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. So that's kind of where is that at this point.
John Reid with us. John, so you mentioned February 23rd. Then do you feel like a deal is imminent, or is this just the kind of talk that we always seem to hear leading into that February 23rd trade deadline?
No, I believe there's some serious discussions going on, but I think part of the discussions to make a deal work or not work is what is Philly and in New Orleans, will it on the draft pick? Is there maybe Philly wants that 217 pick and not anything protected for a first round pick in 218, and I think those are the sticking points. And also, this team is not willing to give up Jrue Holiday. Now, if Philly is persistent on wanting Jrue Holiday, then I think that would be something as a deal breaker. I think they feel confident that they can get something that and re-sign him at some point during the summer when he becomes an unrestricted free agent. But I just think that this franchise feel that he's just a major piece to go along with AD, that they're not willing to put him in a trade deal of this part in this magnitude to get someone like Okafor in return in a deal like this. But I think in any deal, I think the thing with Philly is they're not only talking to New Orleans either. So I think they're trying to get the best deal. They're not going to give him away. So I think that's they're going to do what they need to do to get what they can get back in return, the most value in return.
Yeah, John Reid's with us. He covers the Pelicans. A lot of reports that the Sixers and Pelicans are chatting. I hope the Pelicans don't mind if Okafor comes with a lack of defensive skill. Is that okay?
Well, they got a lot of guys on that team right now that got some lack of the defensive skills and some lack of.
Well, this guy will top them all. Let me tell you. But he can score. He can score. He's just in a tough spot. John, this is weird because this league anymore, and you've covered the league for a long time, you've seen the change. Guys like Okafor don't really fit in. I mean, we always joke on the show, if Karl Malone played in today's game, where would he play? I mean, that guy doesn't fit in today's game anymore.
No, I think, there's some good about this up-tempo spread, the offense and kind of things, but there are also some bad things. I mean, you look at a lot of games, you see a lot of open drives to the basket with the rotation help not coming over in time. And it's just, I think it's a give and take to that. There's a lot of scoring, like everyone from if you're 6'11" to 5'10", everybody want to shoot threes. So is a much different game than what it was even, say, 3-4 years ago.
No doubt.
To be honest. Everyone want to be like Golden State. But I just think that they want to get if Okafor could come into New Orleans and really put some points in the bucket, which I think that's what they're lacking, and show some skills. I mean, they need rebounding, and maybe just, not to rely on them so heavily in the post that AD could cover for him, but I just think they need a little more athleticism at the 5 than what they've gotten over the last 2 years with Omer Sheik and Alexis Jensen.
John Reid covers the Pelicans, and we'll see if something happens. Trade deadline's not till the 23rd, and some reports here locally that a lot of teams have called the Sixers about Okafor. So we'll try to sniff out more, but this one the most prominent so far. John, we appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Thanks a lot.